The grand ceremonial hall aboard Nebula 7 station gleamed with an otherworldly brilliance. Its crystalline walls captured the light of distant stars, refracting them into a kaleidoscope of colors that danced across the faces of the assembled dignitaries. At the center of the hall stood a holographic display of the proposed Galactic Alliance Earth Peace Treaty, its text shimmering in multiple languages as it rotated slowly above the ornate negotiation table. Ambassador Diana Reeves of the Earth Federation straightened her midnight blue diplomatic uniform and surveyed the room with practiced calm. Her emerald eyes betrayed none of the tension she felt as she observed the hegemony delegation entering from the opposite end of the hall. The imposing figure of Vex Lord Tornik, commander of the hegemony forces, led his entourage with predatory grace. His scaled skin glinted metallically under the lights, and his six-fingered hands were adorned with ceremonial battle rings, each representing a civilization that had fallen to hegemony rule. "Quite the spectacle they've arranged," murmured Admiral Jackson Parker, who stood at Diana's right shoulder. The veteran military commander's weathered face remained impassive, but Diana could sense his discomfort. Like her, he knew what was really at stake today. "The hegemony has always appreciated theatrical displays of power," Diana replied softly. "It's their way of reminding everyone in the room who they believe is in control." It was cycle year 2435 by the standard galactic calendar, nearly 4 centuries since humanity had first ventured beyond their solar system. In that time, Earth had quietly established colonies across 57 star systems, while maintaining a carefully crafted image of a minor, somewhat technologically backward civilization. This perception had been humanity's greatest shield, and today it would become their greatest weapon. The diplomatic proceedings began with customary introductions. Ambassador Krendel of the Pluridian Confederacy, acting as the neutral third-party mediator, activated the central communication array. "Esteemed representatives of the galactic hegemony and the Earth Federation, we gather today to witness the signing of a historic peace treaty that will formally bring humanity into the hegemony's protective embrace." Krendel's translucent form rippled as he spoke, a characteristic of his species when experiencing what humans might call excitement. Vex Lord Tornik stepped forward, his massive frame casting a shadow across the negotiation table. "Supreme Overlord Zixtar sends his regrets that he could not attend personally," he announced, his translator converting the harsh clicks and hisses of his native tongue into standard galactic. "But he has empowered me to finalize this agreement that will usher in a new era of prosperity for Earth under hegemony guidance." Diana inclined her head respectfully. "The people of Earth are honored by your presence, Vex Lord Tornik. We look forward to a relationship of mutual benefit." As the formal reading of the treaty began, Diana discreetly checked the secure communication implant embedded behind her ear. Right on schedule, a message from her intelligence team confirmed what she already knew. A hegemony fleet of over 5,000 warships had moved into position behind Jupiter, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. They were waiting for the treaty's signing, or more specifically, for the activation of the hidden backdoor protocols buried within its text that would grant them access to Earth's defensive systems. The hegemony's strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Present a seemingly generous peace treaty, gain access to Earth's defense grid through cleverly disguised technical clauses, then launch an overwhelming invasion force once those defenses were neutralized. It was a tactic they had used successfully dozens of times throughout the galaxy. But this time, they had made a critical error, underestimating humanity. "Before we proceed to the formal signing," Diana announced, "the Earth Federation wishes to present a ceremonial gift to commemorate this historic occasion." She nodded to Dr. Marcus Fleming, who stepped forward, carrying an ornate container. Dr. Fleming, Earth's leading quantum physicist and the architect of humanity's greatest technological leap, opened the container to reveal a softly glowing blue sphere. "The sphere of life," Diana explained, "a symbol of Earth's commitment to peace and our gratitude for the hegemony's protection." Vex Lord Tornik's reptilian eyes narrowed slightly, but protocol demanded he accept the gift. "The hegemony acknowledges this tribute," he said, gesturing for one of his aides to take the sphere. As the ceremonial gift was placed on a pedestal near the hegemony delegation, Diana caught Dr. Fleming's almost imperceptible nod. Phase 1 was complete. The treaty negotiations continued through hours of diplomatic posturing. Earth's team, Diana Admiral Parker, Dr. Fleming and political advisors, Thomas Whitfield and Lakshmi Patel, maintained a careful balance of respectful cooperation and strategic hesitation. They raised minor concerns about peripheral clauses while appearing to overlook the true dangers embedded in the document. Throughout the proceedings, Vex Lord Tornik's confidence grew visibly. Diana could almost read his thoughts, another primitive species walking willingly into servitude believing they were securing peace. When the final session began, Ambassador Krendel activated the holographic treaty for official review. "Are there any final matters either party wishes to address before proceeding to signatures?" Diana rose from her seat, her expression solemn. "Just one small matter of clarification," she said, her voice echoing in the suddenly quiet hall. Section 37, subsection 12, paragraph 9, the Technical Cooperation Protocol. "I believe there may be a translation error in the Earth Standard Version." Vex Lord Tornik waved a dismissive hand. "A minor technical detail that can be addressed after ratification. The essence of the agreement remains unchanged." "I am afraid I must insist," Diana replied, her tone hardening slightly. "This particular section describes the integration of communication systems between our planets. The current wording would grant the hegemony unrestricted access to all Earth defense networks." A flash of irritation crossed Tornik's alien features. "A standard security protocol, Ambassador. Necessary for coordinated defensive operations." Diana smiled thinly. "Of course. However, I wonder if the same protocol applies to the hegemony fleet currently hiding behind Jupiter." The hall erupted in shocked murmurs. Vex Lord Tornik's scales darkened, the equivalent of a human blanching. "I don't know what you're talking about," he hissed, but the momentary flicker of his inner eyelids betrayed his surprise. 5,000 warships positioned for a direct assault on Earth once our defenses are compromised through this treaty. Diana continued calmly. She tapped a control on the table, and the holographic display shifted to show real-time images of the hidden fleet. "Did you really believe we wouldn't notice?" Before Tornik could respond, the blue sphere that had been presented as a gift began to pulse with increasing intensity. A field of shimmering energy expanded outward, enveloping the entire hegemony delegation. "What is the meaning of this?" Tornik demanded, reaching for his ceremonial weapon, only to find it wouldn't detach from its holster. Diana's expression hardened. "The meaning, Vexlord, is that humanity is not as primitive as you believed. The sphere of life contains a phase shift containment field. Technology your scientists claimed was theoretically impossible. It's currently neutralizing all hegemony technology within the station." As if on cue, Admiral Parker received a communication. "Ambassador," he reported with grim satisfaction, "Earth Fleet Command confirms that all hegemony vessels have been successfully targeted and disabled. The quantum entanglement disruptors are functioning perfectly." Diana turned back to the now seething Vexlord. "Humanity has known about your invasion plans for over 50 years, Tornik. The treaty negotiations were our way of confirming our intelligence and drawing your fleet into position." The holographic display shifted again, revealing hundreds of Earth warships emerging from concealment around Jupiter, surrounding the paralyzed hegemony fleet. Ships unlike anything the hegemony had believed humans capable of producing. Sleek, advanced vessels, bristling with weapons that even hegemony military intelligence had thought were centuries beyond human development. "Impossible," Tornik breathed. "Your species is barely space-capable. Our intelligence—" "Your intelligence saw exactly what we wanted it to see," Diana interrupted. "While the hegemony watched our public space program struggle with basic interplanetary travel, our true fleet was being built in secret. While your spies reported on our apparently limited quantum research, Dr. Fleming and his team were perfecting phase shift technology that your scientists believed was merely theoretical. The truth dawned on Tornik with devastating clarity. The outdated ships, the seemingly primitive defense systems, the diplomatic eagerness to join the hegemony, all part of a strategy, decades in the making, Diana confirmed. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak can be the greatest strength. We studied your conquest patterns. You always target species that have valuable resources, but lack the military capacity to resist. So we gave you exactly what you expected to see. Ambassador Krendel, who had been watching the exchange with increasing alarm, finally found his voice. This is unprecedented. The diplomatic implications will be addressed in the new treaty we're about to negotiate, Diana interjected firmly. One that recognizes Earth's sovereignty over all 57 of our star systems and establishes truly equal trade and security protocols. Admiral Parker stepped forward. Your ships are currently held in our quantum containment fields, Vex Lord. They're undamaged but completely powerless. Your crews are unharmed but unable to communicate with the hegemony. This situation can be resolved peacefully, if you're willing to negotiate in good faith this time. For several tense moments, Vex Lord Tornik stood motionless, his alien mind clearly calculating options that no longer existed. Finally, he spoke. You realize that when news of this spreads, other subjugated worlds will question hegemony authority. That has already begun, Lakshmi Patel, Earth's cultural advisor, remarked, as she activated a separate communication display. We've been broadcasting evidence of your attempted deception throughout the galactic communication network for the past hour. The Pluridians Axanar and 17 other member species have already called for emergency councils to reconsider their treaties. Diana watched as the reality of the situation fully registered on Tornik's face. The mighty hegemony, which had dominated galactic politics for centuries, through a combination of military might and diplomatic manipulation, had been outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as barely worth conquering. You face a choice now, Vex Lord, Diana said, her voice softening slightly. Return to the hegemony in disgrace, to face whatever punishment Supreme Overlord Zixtar deems appropriate for this failure, or accept political asylum with Earth, and help us establish a more equitable galactic community. Tornik's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of deep internal conflict. You would offer asylum after what we plan to do to your world. Earth has a long history of providing refuge to those who choose to turn away from oppressive regimes, Diana replied. We believe in second chances, Vex Lord, and we could use someone with your knowledge of hegemony operations to help stabilize the transition that's coming. The negotiation hall had fallen into stunned silence. The hegemony aides looked to Tornik for direction, while Earth's team waited calmly for his response. You've orchestrated this perfectly, Ambassador Reeves, Tornik finally said, a new note of respect in his voice. If I may ask, how long has Earth truly been capable of this level of technology? Diana's lips curved into a small smile. Let's just say that humanity learned to split the atom over 500 years ago, and we've been advancing in secret ever since. The Earth Federation currently spans 57 star systems, with a combined military force that rivals the entire hegemony fleet. And yet you chose deception over direct confrontation, Tornik observed. We chose to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, Admiral Parker corrected him. A direct war between Earth and the hegemony would have resulted in billions of casualties across dozens of worlds. This way, we can reshape the balance of power without a single shot being fired. Ambassador Krendel, who had been uncharacteristically quiet during this exchange, suddenly spoke up. I must confess something. The Pluridian's translucent form rippled with emotion. I was aware of the hegemony's true intentions with this treaty. Many of us mediators have been forced to facilitate such conquest before, but we had no choice until now. Diana nodded sympathetically. We know, Ambassador Krendel. Your people have suffered under hegemony rule for 3 generations. That changes today. The next 12 hours were dedicated to negotiating a new treaty, one that acknowledged Earth's true status as a major galactic power and established protections for formerly subjugated species. Throughout the galaxy, the news spread rapidly. The invincible hegemony had been outmaneuvered, and a new balance of power was emerging. In the final moments before the signing of the genuine peace agreement, Diana found herself alone with Vex Lord Tornik in one of Nebula 7's observation lounges. The gas giant Jupiter filled the viewscreen, surrounded by the now visible fleets of both powers. The disabled hegemony ships, surrounded by Earth's advanced vessels. "Your decision?" Diana asked quietly. Tornik's alien features were difficult for humans to read, but Diana had spent years studying hegemony expressions. The subtle positioning of his cranial spines indicated resignation, mixed with something that might have been relief. "I will accept your offer of asylum," he said finally. "Supreme Overlord Zixtar does not forgive failure. But more than that, I find myself curious about a civilization that could maintain such discipline and secrecy for generations, all to avoid unnecessary war." Diana nodded. "Humanity has had its share of devastating conflicts, Vexlord. We learned the hard way that victory through brute force often creates only temporary peace. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon is patience." "The original peace treaty was a lie," Tornik observed, "but it has led to something genuine after all." Diana turned to look at the fleets displayed before them. "That's the irony of diplomacy, isn't it? Sometimes we must navigate through deception to arrive at truth." She extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. "Welcome to the beginning of a new era, Vex Lord Tornik." After a moment's hesitation, Tornik extended his six-fingered hand and completed the gesture. "A new era indeed, Ambassador Reeves. Though I suspect the galaxy will never underestimate humanity again." Diana's smile contained both warmth and warning. That Vex Lord was precisely the point. 2 months after the events at Nebula 7, Diana Reeves stood before the Earth Federation Council in the Grand Chamber beneath New Geneva. The assembled representatives from all 57 human-controlled star systems listened intently as she delivered her report on the aftermath of what was now being called the Revelation Strategy. "The dissolution of the hegemony's power structure continues peacefully but rapidly," Diana explained. 29 formerly subjugated species have declared independence, while 16 others have formed a new cooperative alliance, modeled partly on the Earth Federation. Supreme Overlord Zixtar has been removed from power by his own high command, who realized that continued aggression would lead to their complete isolation. Admiral Parker, seated among the military leadership, nodded in satisfaction. "And the technology sharing initiatives?" "Proceeding as planned," responded Dr. Marcus Fleming, who had joined Diana at the podium. "We're carefully introducing our advancements to former hegemony worlds, prioritizing medical and environmental restoration technologies. The quantum communication network now connects 32 systems, allowing for instantaneous coordination, without the hegemony monitoring that was previously unavoidable." From her position at the center of the council chamber, Earth Federation President Eliana Montreux rose to speak. Her dark skin contrasted with her silver hair, giving her an appearance of distinguished authority that matched her reputation as one of humanity's most brilliant strategic minds. "Ambassador Reeves, the Council recognizes that the success of this operation was largely due to your team's perfect execution of a plan that required absolute secrecy and precise timing. The Federation is in your debt." Diana inclined her head respectfully. "Madam President, the credit belongs to generations of Earth's leaders and citizens who maintained our facade of technological limitation while building our true capabilities. For over 200 years, we restricted our visible development, shared disinformation through channels we knew were compromised, and constructed an elaborate fiction of a struggling young species. Thousands of our best minds worked in complete secrecy, knowing they would never receive public recognition in their lifetimes." President Montreux's expression grew solemn. "And now we face the greater challenge, transitioning from the shadows into the light." For centuries, humanity defined itself partly by what we concealed. Our greatest achievements were known only to ourselves. How do we now reveal our true nature to the galaxy, without becoming that which we opposed? It was Lakshmi Patel who answered, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. By remembering why we chose deception over domination in the first place. Humanity could have revealed its technological superiority a century ago, and likely defeated the hegemony through direct military action. Instead, we chose patience and strategy, specifically to avoid becoming conquerors ourselves. Thomas Whitfield, who had been silent until now, added, "The revelation strategy was never about replacing one galactic power with another. It was about creating space for a more equitable community of species, something the hegemony's expansionism made impossible." The discussion continued late into the night as Earth's leaders grappled with the implications of their new place in the galactic order. Diana listened to the debates, with a growing sense that humanity stood at a crossroads even more significant than the one they had faced when first encountering the hegemony centuries earlier. Later, as she walked through the memorial gardens that commemorated Earth's history of conflict and reconciliation, Diana found herself joined by an unexpected companion. Vex Lord Tornik, now officially classified as a political refugee and advisor to the Federation, approached with the careful movements of someone still adjusting to Earth's gravity. "Your council debates with remarkable openness," he observed. In the hegemony, strategic discussions were limited to the Supreme Overlord and at most 5 advisors. Diana smiled faintly. "Democracy is messy but resilient. We've found that better decisions emerge from the clash of differing viewpoints. A philosophy that extends to your approach to galactic politics, it seems." Tornik gestured toward the night sky, visible through the garden's transparent dome. "I've been studying your historical archives. Particularly interesting was how humanity united after discovering it wasn't alone in the universe." "Fear is a powerful motivator," Diana acknowledged. "When we intercepted our first hegemony communications and decoded enough to understand their conquest patterns, Earth's nations realized that our differences paled in comparison to the threat of extinction." Tornik's scaled head tilted in a gesture Diana had come to recognize as thoughtful consideration. "Yet you didn't unite in paranoia or aggression. Instead, you crafted the most elaborate deception I've ever encountered, spanning centuries and involving billions of humans who maintained absolute secrecy." "Not without cost," Diana said quietly. "Generations of brilliance hidden away. Scientific breakthroughs that could have improved countless lives, delayed in their public implementation to maintain our cover. The ethical debates were intense, and remain so." They walked in silence for several minutes, before Tornik spoke again. "The question that haunts me, Ambassador Reeves, is whether any species can wield the kind of power Earth now possesses without eventually becoming corrupted by it. The hegemony began as a defensive alliance of 3 worlds, facing extinction from a now forgotten enemy." Diana stopped before a memorial that depicted Earth's historical nuclear weapons deactivated centuries ago. "That concern is precisely why we reveal ourselves now, rather than continuing our deception and slowly conquering hegemony worlds one by one, which we could have done." "And what prevents humanity from becoming the next hegemony?" Tornik asked bluntly. Diana turned to face him directly. "Accountability, transparency, the careful distribution of power among our 57 worlds, the constitutional limitations on military authority, the preservation of our diverse cultures and perspectives." She gestured toward the council building visible in the distance. "And most importantly, our willingness to question ourselves, as they're doing right now." Tornik's expression shifted in a way that Diana had learned indicated skepticism. "Noble sentiments. Necessary safeguards," Diana corrected. "The Federation doesn't claim moral superiority, Vex Lord. We claim only the wisdom to recognize that power corrupts unless it's continuously checked by robust systems of accountability." As they resumed walking, Diana's secure communicator chimed softly. The message was brief, but significant. The new Galactic Cooperative Charter had been ratified by the required number of former hegemony worlds. The transformation of interstellar politics was officially underway. "It appears congratulations are in order," Tornik remarked, noting her expression. "The galaxy has accepted your new order with remarkable speed." Diana shook her head. "Not our order. A new beginning that belongs to all sentient species. Earth will have significant influence, yes, but the Charter explicitly prevents any single world or alliance from dominating the others." "A peace built on equality, rather than dominance," Tornik mused. "An interesting experiment. I wonder how long it will last." "That," Diana replied with a small smile, "will depend on whether we've truly learned from history or are doomed to repeat it." The transformation of galactic politics continued over the following year with remarkable speed. The formal dissolution of the hegemony as a political entity was followed by the establishment of the Galactic Cooperative, an alliance structure that balanced the sovereignty of individual worlds with the necessity of coordinated action on matters affecting multiple species. Diana found herself traveling continuously between newly liberated worlds, helping to establish diplomatic connections and ease the transition of power. On the former hegemony throne world of Zixanar, she witnessed the dismantling of the enormous statues of Supreme Overlord Zixstar, not in violent revolution, but in a carefully orchestrated ceremony that symbolized the peaceful transfer of authority to a newly elected planetary council. Most conquered worlds expected Earth to simply replace the hegemony as the dominant power, observed Ambassador Krendel, who had become one of Diana's most valuable allies. "They're still adjusting to the reality that your species fought so hard, not to rule, but to create a system where no one rules absolutely." "Old habits die hard," Diana replied, as they watched workers carefully preserving pieces of the dismantled monuments for a historical museum. "The pattern of dominance and submission has shaped interstellar relations for so long that many species can't conceive of an alternative." Krendel's translucent form rippled in the equivalent of a contemplative sigh. "Including my own. The Pluridians served as mediators for hegemony conquest for generations, telling ourselves we were minimizing harm while knowing we were facilitating subjugation." Diana placed a reassuring hand near Krendel's energy field, the closest approximation to physical contact his species could comfortably experience. "Which is why your perspective is so valuable now. You understand both the temptation of power and the cost of submission." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Thomas Whitfield, whose diplomatic shuttle had just landed from Earth. His expression was grave as he approached. "Ambassador, we have a situation developing in the Axanar sector. 3 former hegemony military commanders have seized control of a significant weapons platform and are threatening nearby systems unless they receive recognition as the legitimate government." Diana frowned. The first serious challenge to the new order. It was inevitable, but I had hoped for more time to stabilize the transition. "Earth Fleet Command has positioned vessels in the adjacent sectors," Thomas continued. "Admiral Parker is requesting your guidance on how to proceed. A military response would be swift and decisive, but potentially undermines our message of peaceful cooperation." Diana was silent for a moment, weighing options against consequences, with the careful consideration that had defined her career. "Have we established communication with the commanders?" "Yes, but they're demanding to speak only with you personally. They've made it clear they consider you the true power behind the cooperative, regardless of its official structure." This was precisely the perception Diana had been working to avoid. The belief that Earth had simply replaced the hegemony at the top of a hierarchical power structure. How she responded to this crisis would set a precedent for handling future challenges to the new galactic order. "Inform Admiral Parker that no military action is to be taken unless civilian populations are directly threatened," she decided. "I'll depart for the Axanar sector immediately, but I won't be going alone," she turned to Krendel. "I'll need representatives from at least 7 different species, former hegemony subjects and neutral worlds alike. This cannot be perceived as Earth imposing its will." Krendel's form brightened, his species' indication of approval. I'll begin contacting potential delegates immediately. Thomas looked concerned. Ambassador, these commanders are dangerous zealots who still believe in hegemony supremacy. Bringing a diverse delegation could put multiple species representatives at risk. Which is exactly why it must be done, Diana replied firmly. The cooperative cannot function if its members believe Earth will fight all its battles. From the beginning, we've maintained that our goal was to create a system of shared responsibility and mutual defense. The diplomatic mission to the Axanar sector proved even more challenging than Diana had anticipated. The three hegemony commanders, Generals Vrax, Kolog, and Zenthar, had synchronized the weapons platform's targeting systems with civilian population centers on 3 nearby worlds. Any military approach would trigger automated attacks that could kill millions. Diana's multi-species delegation established a negotiation base on a neutral trading station within communication range of the platform. The first visual exchange with the renegade commanders was tense, with General Vrax making his position immediately clear. Ambassador Reeves, we recognize that you are the architect of the hegemony's downfall and the true authority behind this cooperative facade. His translated voice boomed through the communication array. We will negotiate only with you as the representative of Earth's power. Diana, seated at the center of a semicircle that included representatives from 7 different species, responded with calm precision. General Vrax, I am here as one voice among equals. The Galactic Cooperative is not a facade but a genuine alliance in which Earth holds no special authority beyond our contributed resources. Absurd, General Kolog interjected. We have studied your strategy. You manipulated the galaxy masterfully, hiding your true strength until the perfect moment to seize control. We respect such cunning even as we oppose it. Diana glanced at her fellow delegates before responding. Your perspective reveals the limitation of hegemony-thinking generals. You cannot conceive of power exercised except through dominance, or security achieved except through control. For the next 3 days, negotiations proceeded in a series of increasingly detailed exchanges. The hegemony generals demanded formal recognition of their authority over a sector of space, along with military assets and non-interference guarantees. The cooperative delegation, following Diana's lead, responded with firm refusal, coupled with offers of amnesty and integration into the new political structure. As citizens, not rulers. On the 4th day, as tensions reached their peak, Diana implemented the strategy she had been carefully developing. During a scheduled communication break, she conferred with her delegation. They believe I control Earth's military response and, by extension, the cooperative's reaction to their threat, she explained. It's time to demonstrate otherwise. When communications resumed, Diana was no longer seated at the center of the delegation. Instead, Ambassador Krendel occupied that position, with Diana now seated as one voice among equals. Generals. Krendel began his translucent form, pulsing with authority. Ambassador Reeves has recused herself from leading these negotiations, as you have repeatedly refused to acknowledge the collaborative nature of the cooperative. I will now serve as primary negotiator, with the full authority of our combined governments. The generals reacted with predictable outrage, demanding Diana's return to the central position. Instead, each delegate took turns addressing specific aspects of the crisis, demonstrating their deep understanding of both the technical and political dimensions of the standoff. When Diana finally spoke again, her message was pointed. Generals, while you have focused exclusively on Earth as your adversary, the cooperative has been systematically disabling your platform's external targeting systems. Your weapons now have sufficient power only to destroy the platform itself, not to threaten civilian populations. General Vrax's expression shifted from confidence to alarm as he received confirmation of this claim from his technical staff. Impossible. The platform's systems are isolated from external access. A limitation that might have been true under hegemony design, responded the Tellarite delegate, whose species specialized in cybernetic systems. But quite outdated when faced with the combined expertise of 7 species working in concert. The realization dawned slowly on the generals' faces. While they had fixated on Diana and Earth as the source of all opposition, they had overlooked the capabilities of the very alliance they had dismissed as a facade. "Your options are now straightforward," Diana concluded. "Surrender to cooperative authorities and accept the amnesty we've offered, or become martyrs to a cause that the galaxy has already moved beyond. The choice is yours, but it no longer affects anyone but yourselves." The Axanar crisis marked a turning point in the establishment of the new galactic order. The surrender of the hegemony generals, broadcast throughout formerly controlled space, demonstrated that the cooperative was not merely Earth's puppet, but a genuine alliance with distributed capabilities and shared authority. 6 months later, Diana found herself back on Earth, standing before the Federation Council to deliver what would be her final report as ambassador at large. The chamber was filled beyond capacity, with representatives from all human worlds, eager to hear from the woman who had become the face of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. The Cooperative Charter has now been ratified by 143 worlds, she announced to appreciative murmurs. The transition of power has been completed in all former hegemony sectors, with locally elected governments now fully established. Trade volume between member worlds has increased by 67%, while reported incidents of interspecies conflict have decreased by over 90%. President Montreux nodded in satisfaction. "And the former hegemony military assets distributed among member worlds according to the proportional defense protocols," Admiral Parker reported. "No single species, including our own, controls more than 15% of the combined defensive capabilities. The mutual verification systems are functioning as designed, with inspection teams comprising multiple species conducting regular reviews." Dr. Marcus Fleming, whose quantum technology had been so crucial to the initial operation, added, "The technology exchange programs have been particularly successful. Former hegemony worlds are adapting Earth's phase shift drives to their vessels, while we've integrated several alien bioadaptive materials into our manufacturing processes. The cross-pollination of scientific knowledge has accelerated development across multiple fields." As the reports continued, Diana found her thoughts drifting to the broader meaning of what humanity had accomplished. They had concealed their true nature for centuries, advancing in secret while presenting a facade of limitation to the galaxy. Then, when the moment was right, they had emerged not as conquerors, but as architects of a new kind of interstellar community. Bah. Ambassador Reeves. President Montreux's voice drew her back to the present. "The Council has one final question before accepting your resignation and confirming your successor. In your assessment, is the peace we've established sustainable beyond our lifetimes?" Diana considered the question carefully before responding. "Madam President, members of the Council, the peace we've built rests on 3 foundations. First, the balance of power that prevents any single species from dominating others. Second, the economic interdependence that makes conflict costly for all participants. And third, most importantly, the shared understanding that emerged from the hegemony's fall." She paused, gathering her thoughts. For centuries, most galactic species accepted a simple narrative: power naturally concentrates the strong, dominate the weak, and resistance is ultimately futile. By revealing our true capabilities at precisely the right moment, humanity didn't just defeat the hegemony, we shattered that narrative. We demonstrated that patience and strategy could overcome brute force, that apparent weakness could conceal true strength, and that dominance is not the inevitable outcome of advanced capability. The chamber had fallen completely silent, attendees from all 57 human worlds listening intently. "The most valuable thing we've created isn't the cooperative's political structure or its military safeguards. It's the new story that species across the galaxy are beginning to tell themselves. A story in which tyranny isn't inevitable and cooperation isn't naive." Whether this peace outlasts us depends on whether that story takes root deeply enough to survive the challenges that will inevitably come. President Montreux nodded thoughtfully. And your personal assessment of those odds, Ambassador? Diana allowed herself a small smile. Better than they've ever been in galactic history. For the first time, the dominant powers in known space are committed to something beyond dominance itself. As the council session concluded, Diana found herself approached by her successor, Ambassador Alara Chen, whose experience in post-conflict reconciliation had made her the ideal candidate to continue the work of building the cooperative. Intimidating footsteps to follow, Alara remarked with a wry smile. The woman who outmaneuvered the hegemony and reshaped galactic politics. Diana laughed softly. Hardly the work of one person. I was simply fortunate enough to be in position when centuries of preparation finally came to fruition. Nevertheless, Alara insisted, your name will be remembered alongside the greatest strategists in human history, the architect of the Revelation strategy. History has a way of simplifying complex events, Diana replied. In 300 years, students will probably learn that I single-handedly tricked the hegemony into surrender with some clever diplomatic wordplay. They shared a knowing smile at the inevitable simplifications of historical narrative. Any final advice before I depart for cooperative headquarters? Alara asked. Diana considered for a moment. Remember that our greatest strength was never our technology or our military capacity. It was our willingness to wait to play the longer game. The hegemony thought in terms of conquests and generations. Humanity planned across centuries. As they parted ways, Diana made her way to a quiet observation lounge that offered a view of Earth's night side, glittering with the lights of a unified civilization that had maintained the greatest secret in galactic history. She was joined after a time by Dr. Marcus Fleming, whose brilliant mind had created the quantum technologies that made the Revelation strategy possible. Feeling philosophical? He asked, noting her contemplative expression. Historical, Diana corrected with a smile. Trying to place what we've accomplished in perspective. Fleming nodded, his usually energetic demeanor subdued. 500 years ago, humans were killing each other over resources and ideologies. 300 years ago, we discovered we weren't alone in the universe and realized we needed to present a unified front. 200 years ago, we committed to the greatest deception ever attempted, hiding our true development from all alien observation. And now we're helping to build a galactic community based on equality and cooperation, Diana finished. Quite a journey for a species that once thought itself the center of the universe. The question that haunts me, Fleming admitted, is whether we were justified in our deception. For generations we maintained a lie, letting other species believe we were something we were not. We did what was necessary, Diana said simply. The hegemony didn't permit equals, only rulers and subjects. Had we revealed ourselves earlier, we would have faced either conquest or been forced into becoming conquerors ourselves. Fleming was silent for a long moment. The peace treaty was a lie, he finally said, echoing Vex Lord Tornik's observation from months earlier. But it led to something genuine. Sometimes, Diana replied, watching as the Terminator line slowly crept across the face of the Earth, below bringing dawn to new regions. The path to truth runs directly through deception. The hegemony understood only the language of power. We had to speak that language long enough to create space for a new conversation. As the first rays of sunlight illuminated the eastern continents, Diana reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. From a species confined to a single planet, to architects of a new galactic order. All because they had mastered the art of strategic patience and understood that sometimes appearing weak was the ultimate strength. Dr. Fleming, she said quietly, do you remember what you told me when we first implemented the phase shift technology? Fleming smiled at the memory. I said that the greatest breakthroughs don't change the laws of physics. They change how we perceive what's possible within those laws. Exactly, Diana nodded. And that's precisely what humanity has done for galactic politics. We haven't changed the fundamental nature of species or the challenges of coexistence. We've simply expanded the understanding of what's possible when power is used with restraint and foresight. As they stood watching Earth rotate beneath them, Diana felt a deep sense of completion. The deception was over. The truth was known. And a new chapter in galactic history had begun, one written not in the language of domination, but in the more complex and rewarding dialect of cooperation. The peace treaty had indeed been a lie, but the peace it eventually created was gloriously imperfectly real.